Good morning, everyone. What I'll do is I will focus on the 50% of the waste. So India roughly generates about 200,000, 1.9 lakh tons of waste every year. Out of that, what I just put in is a simple demand and supply situation of waste. I'll focus on only the dry part of the waste. If I look at just the dry part of the waste, out of 70 million tons, roughly about 10 to 15 million tons will go into waste to energy. The waste to energy plants are already there. What is left is about 20, 21 million tons of RDF. India, if you look at the cement industry per se, we have about 650 million tons of capacity of cement, operating about 70% capacity utilization, translates to about 450 million tons of cement. One good advantage of India is cement is there everywhere. Today, even the extreme corners of Sikkim, for example, the entire waste of Sikkim comes to one of the cement plants. The entire waste of Arunachal Pradesh comes to a cement plant. So there is no area in India which actually does not have a cement presence. So to that extent, cement becomes a natural partner for the ULBs to dispose of their dry waste. Now, is the cement capacity enough? Just to look at it simply, about 25% thermal substitution or coal substitution leads to about 25 million tons of RDF, which is all that India generates. Now, I'll compare this and contrast this with, say, something like a Germany or a Portugal, where cement plants run at about 90% coal substitution levels. So, in that sense, in India, we'll always be left with shortage of RDF or shortage of MSW, rather than a situation in which the the municipalities are not able to find a disposer of cement in India. I think that's something that is very critical for us to understand. Now, if that is the case, why is that we always hear from ULBs that there's a challenge of disposal of waste? What do you do with the waste? Quality is not enough. To be honest, we today receive about 6,000 tons of RDF every day, and I have never faced an issue of quality from the any ULB. And I'm talking of extreme from Arunachal Pradesh to Goa to Kanyakumari, we receive waste from all across India. So quality is not an issue. The quality is simple: 2,500 kilocal per kg, less than 25% moisture, less than 25% ash, which is what my today Indian generated waste is. And honestly, this is the same quality of waste that is in Germany. If we say waste in India is very bad compared to Germany, no, that's not the case. Even in Germany and Portugal, the waste qualities are broadly similar. So to that extent, co-processing is the right solution and is the simplest solution. Now let me put it across why we struggle and where the struggle coming from. The struggle comes from a simple cost option. Today, if I look at it, for me, let me go back to Indian generated waste. We generate about 25, let me take a hypothetical number of 30 million tons of waste. 1,500 rupees a ton is all that is required to dispose the dry waste. That translates to 3,000 crores a year. As ma'am said, 75 lakh crores is budgeted for urban sustainability. We are talking of 3,000 crores a year. I think that's a very, very small number for us to consider. What is missing is the focus. We are extremely focused on collection. We are extremely focused on everything. But what we are missing is the disposal. What we are missing is just the focus. There's nothing else required. The money is very small. The requirements are very small. Cement companies of all, I'm saying I'm representing a fourth largest cement company in India. Top three, all of them have invested close to 6,000 crores to take up all the waste. So for us, it is only a question of receiving waste is all that is needed. Let me just this number per se, 3,000 crores translates to what? 35 rupees per person per year for disposal. I think that's something that we should definitely focus on. That something that we should ensure that we put in to ensure that we become a waste-free country. Just to give you an example, and I think this is something that I was quoting, Germany, the quality of waste is not very similar. But what is important is once the assurance from the ULBC is there, the waste is required. There are some investments that need to be made, be it the feeding capabilities, gas bypass systems, external combustors, oxygen enrichment. Those are the small investments that need to be made and fine-tuned for the cement companies to take the waste in India. One other aspect, if you look at the RDF, there are essentially two ways of disposing the RDF anywhere in the world. One is put it through waste to energy system. Second is to put it into cement plants. Now let's compare and contrast these two. It's a very simple art. We are still a country with urbanization, but urbanization in tier 2, tier 3, close to 6,000 odd towns, and very, very few large towns. Now, if I look at waste to energy, the solution is for cities with greater than 600 tons per day kind of capacities. What happened to the rest? One, is it essential to even in the large towns I go for waste to energy? Absolutely not. Cement becomes again a very, very natural choice for multitude of reasons. One, because I think one critical aspect when we, unless we, the focus of the ULBs should be on the source segregation of waste, and that's something that's very critical for us to be able to dispose the waste. Waste to energy, on the other hand, needs no segregation. Waste as is can be disposed in the waste to energy. I think that's, but but if I look at from the environmental point of view, putting the organics into an incinerator, burning the organics is actually harmful to the soil. So why do it? If I look at pollution, cement plants have no residue left. The inerts that come out of it, the ash that comes out of it, the burnt ash, fly ash, goes and mixed with cement, binds nicely, and come out as one product, which is cement, which has no residues left. On the other hand, waste to energy has 30 to 40% inerts, which again needs to be landfill. So this, as ma'am said, if we as a country need to look at zero landfills, again, waste to energy is not a solution. We need to look at cement, and with such a large capacity of cement in India, I think that becomes a very, very natural choice. Last is on the pollution. Unfortunately, we have heard enough of press on Okla, the dust on the houses around Okla waste to energy plant. We have heard of CPCB issuing notice to one of the KKR sponsored waste to energy plant in Hyderabad for chromium and cadmium. The challenge is manifold if you look at pollution in all three parameters: water, soil, and air. Again, cement avoids all the things because the material that comes out goes and embeds directly into the cement and leaves no residues. Again, this is something that is important to understand. Why then, if that is the case where waste to energy is not environmentally environmentally not very conducive, pollution wise it is not very thing, economically it is very expensive. On one hand, cement, you talk of anywhere between 500 rupees to 1500 rupees for disposal. Waste to energy needs 4,400 to 5,000 rupees per disposal. If that is the case, then why is waste to energy? I think it simply boils down to one aspect of it, which is ease of use. As a ULB, I don't need to segregate. I don't need to separate the dry waste and wet waste. And for me, if I don't segregate, the only solution becomes waste to energy. Because no cement plant will be able to consume wet waste as is, with the kind of moisture levels, with the kind of smell issues, with the kind of local issues that will come up with it. I think that's one big reason why it is required. And secondly, one of the interesting aspects is one of the ministers for urban development, when I in the state where I visited, said something very interesting. As a ULB, I'm always stuck for funds. But once the moment I convert this to waste to energy, then it becomes a DISCOM's problem, because DISCOM anyway is dealing with lakhs of crores of funds. This small 100, 200 crores in each state does not impact. So I think one of the reasons waste to energy in India is prospering is because of the fund situation and the onus of compliance moving from the ULBs, which are the wage generators, which should actually own the responsibility of it, to the power companies or power discoms. I think that's broadly what I had to put in terms of that perspective. Thank you so much.